to welcome you to today's Mini PD Institute on accessible online tools for contextualized learning with an emphasis on early childhood education. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we are so blessed to have Megan Farrell from Mustard Seed as our facilitator. If you didn't get a chance to participate in the other PD sessions that were held this week, please know that the AFE team will be posting them on the website, and we'll make sure we push out that information in case there are sessions you'd like to take a peek at. And or we encourage you to share the resources from today's session and other sessions that were held this week with your colleagues, both within your organization and external too. Dr. Bruce, did you want to say anything? Dr. Bruce at the University of District of Columbia co-facilitates PD with us. We're so blessed to have Dr. Bruce as a partner. And Dr. Bruce, I'll turn it over to you for a quick welcome.
Yeah, just welcome and enjoy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Michelle and Dr. Bruce and Stacy and all the team at Aussie for facilitating this to bring us all together today. I'm really excited for this topic. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Megan Farrell. My current organization is Mustard Seed Training. I've also worked with Essential Education, whose resources you have available to you, and New Readers Press, and have taught adult ed for many years. And what I'm very excited about this session for is because personally, I feel like for many years I had two sides of myself. My side where I was working as a volunteer in my church religious side, working with children, and then I had my adult ed side, right? And so I actually founded Mustard Seed Training to try and bring some of those things together. So in addition to doing continuing the work in professional development for adult ed that I've been doing, I'm also make hands-on materials for praying with children, and I work with an artisan team to do that. So those are my two hats right now. And my kind of adult ed side is the blog, and Stacy has posted the link in your chat if you just want to click directly to that, or if you want to type it in, it's blog.mustsseed.org. And whatever the most recent PD session I have done is going to be on the upper left. So today, that's early childhood education. However, if you missed from earlier in the week, we also have all the others from this week: law and security, infrastructure, healthcare, which we talked about a little earlier, hospitality, construction, and I think that was, are we missing one? Oh, and IT, business administration, and finance. It kind of goes in a funny order there. So when you go to this blog post, it will have the slides for today. Now, when I posted this, I have since switched up a few of the slides because we do have a good number of folks who have been coming to multiple sessions, which I'm super excited about. But that also means I want to switch things up a little bit for you and keep it fresh. So, so if you see something in this slideshow that's different than mine, that's why. And then we also have this document, the contextualized lesson plans, which I believe when we post the videos, we'll also post a Word editable version of this document. So these contextualized lesson plans are, oh, and of course, I think I already gave my thanks to OSI and UDC, but I also want to mention that later on, we're going to be looking at a list of some of the resources they have available for you. So, oops. Before we dive into those lesson plans, we want to think about our big question for the day. Hello, good morning. So feel free to respond if you want to get off take yourself off mute and respond to this question. You can type a couple words in chat if you like. But how are some of the ways that teaching trades transforms young lives? So when we're talking about the impact on children, what are some ways your work, both in your 2-gen work, your adult ed work with folks who are going to teach young people, what are some ways you impact young lives? We're thinking.
Megan, I think one way is that often in families, when you see various members of a particular household engaging in learning that is transforming who they are as individuals, how they interact with other members of their families. I think that having the opportunity to observe those changes can have a domino effect on the lives of the younger group of individuals, whether that's the children or young, adolescents and youth who might see their parents still engaging in learning, earning certifications and certificates, earning a high school diploma, or GED, and celebrating those things. Bria had a beautiful graduation ceremony a few months ago. I'll let Elizabeth talk about it, and they did it via Zoom. But it was just empowering for those young women, their families. It was amazing to see. So I'll let Elizabeth share about that. But that's one of the ways I think that Bria really, through that graduation ceremony, truly just helped individuals to see the power of engaging in continuous learning. So Elizabeth, if you could share a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah.
Hi, and I've got Mao here too, who is the just the expert at Bria in this area, and we're so lucky for that. I think one of the other really exciting opportunities is if we flip that question around, and how does teaching young children transform what we do in teaching trades? Because with young children, we know that really engaging learning where they are oriented and exploring and questioning and solving their problems and really hands-on play, and thinking about how do we do that with adults? Those great principles for children apply for all of us, and so that's one thing that I really love getting to learn from Mao, is the creativity that comes in a space of young children, and being able to expand that as we think about adults, because adults really enjoy it too.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. And Mao actually contributed in chat, modeling behaviors we want and expect. And that sounds like exactly what you were describing. We do, it's so easy with young children to see the way that our nonverbal communication comes across to them, but it's just as effective with adults. Awesome. And Jamie commented, when adult students achieve their career goals, it provides a positive example to their children. This is all awesome answers. So you're right on. I mean, your work is so important for transforming generations, bringing families out of generational poverty, transforming communities. It's just a wonderful thing. And how many people right now are out of work because of our shortage of childcare workers, right? So it improves not only their lives, but the lives of the families that they will serve in their career when you're getting adults to those certifications. So awesome. I'm just excited for the opportunity to support you in that work. So today we're going to work through a little bit of an example early childhood lesson plan that incorporates working on trades. And this is going to be kind of a meta lesson plan because it's a lesson plan that can be something that you use directly with adults. It's actually a lesson plan that was first delivered, written to be delivered for adult English language learners, but also can be something you do directly with children. And it can also be a lesson that you model doing, right, for your folks who are learning early childhood education to deliver a lesson like this that incorporates trade. So hopefully you can follow my logic on that one. And then I'm going to end, as I have every session, with a curated selection of some links to additional resources that you may want to check out. So I'm just going to toss a whole ton of resources at you today. For that reason, I really recommend, we are going to post the slides. We do have the document. However, I still recommend you take notes either by hand, or if you take notes in your phone, or however it is that you jot things down, when you see something that you're like, oh, I want to follow up on that, or that sounds really great, make sure to make a note of it so that you can come back to it tomorrow, next week, next month, when you're ready to implement. All right, so another question for us to think about, and you can think about this in your mind. You can, again, post it in chat if you like, or get off mute. But think about one of your earliest workplace memories. And this isn't necessarily you working, but you seeing somebody's workplace and knowing it was a workplace. And if you want to share, but I also have one. So as we keep this in our minds, and feel free again to chime in if you want, but one of them for me was when I first moved to Pittsburgh. I was about 5 or 6. We were new there. My mom got us a tour at KDKA, which is where Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is filmed. And I remember going in and being able to see the set and meet Fred Rogers. And it was just one of those, he was already somebody who, peels back the world of work for children, right? And shows them what factories are like and how you make crayons and all of these things. But to see where he actually worked and know, and it was just one of those, like, I knew, I don't know, it wasn't a sad, it was a really wonderful experience of, wow, you can do this for a living. Cheryl's first job was a summer camp at 14 years old. Yeah, I mean, how early are we impacted by the world of work? I have one picture here of somebody who is assembling a model, right? But it's the whole family, it's all ages, looking at different, and and how many of us are doing our work at home during the pandemic, and our children are seeing what we do day to day in a way they never have before. And although that has been extremely challenging in some ways, it's also an amazing blessing for them to, when they can kind of peel back that, oh, this is what work is really like. So what our contextualized lesson plan does is it kind of breaks down some of the things. Of course, we do a lot of hands-on play with children, but just incorporating into that things that they will need in the workforce, whether or not they know that directly or not. We know that, right? So our sample lesson today, if you do want to get some of the other resources, came from the Literacy Cooperative of Greater Cleveland. In our area, we decided that with 2014, 2015, the new WIOA requirements, we wanted to more integrate our adult ed and some of our training programs. So we developed this curriculum to both highlight those who were already doing it well, or to write new lessons for programs that, you know, needed to meld those things. Today's, so it's a free registration if you haven't heard this before. If you have, I'm sure you're like, okay, I've heard this one. So it's a free registration. There's 5 different industries you can download. One of which is healthcare. Today's is actually comes from our hospitality curriculum. So, and I chose this one particularly because it is something that Cuyahoga Community College developed that was a pre-trades feeder for their culinary certification program, but was within their state-funded English language learners kind of area, so that, you know, they would have an easy transition from one to the other. So today's lesson is called Job Titles, and a lot of the lessons in this hospitality also work on just kind of general entry-level working, applying for jobs, customer service skills, etc. Can be used for a wide variety of careers. All of our lessons, all of our curricula have 3 key strategies incorporated. And if you were in yesterday's session, feel free to sing along, because I developed a little song to help us remember this and make it a little more interesting. All right. CID, we're interdisciplinary. We contextualize, differentiate, 3 key strategies. Yeah, you and me, girl. All right. So so each of these lessons, we just tried to make sure that they're all teaching at least 2 things at once. They all have real world examples and hands-on things for them to do, but they also include suggestions for that multi-level classroom that we know we are always working in with adults. So this is a chance for those who have been working in this field already. If you have any specific methods or resources that you use to contextualize early childhood education, before I kind of show you what we did in the lesson plan. Is there anything that you, either in teaching the adults on early childhood, how do you give them that workplace experience, or for showing them how children, in your work with children, how they have trades experience or exposure?
And we invite you to unmute yourselves. We have a lot of experts in this session, so please feel free to unmute yourself and give your response that way, or if it's easier for you to put in the chat, you can do that as well.
Hi, this is Mau from Brilla here.
Hello.
I just wanted to share that in our case, we often use their experience as parents for them to relate. And of course, making the differentiation that being a parent is not the same as being a teacher. And, you know, having to raise your kids is not the same as having a job with somebody else's kids. However, is the closest experience they've had with child development, with early child development. So in that way, we make the first connection. And then it's easier for them to kind of picture in their head, you know, the different stages and the different things that they're going to happen, or they're going to be involved with when they're working with children. And so far it's been successful because the majority of our students are parents. And I always make emphasis that they're parents first above anything else. That's part of our mission. So it works great for us to make that connection. And then, of course, we build up from there, their professional skills.
I love that. Thank you so much. That connecting to previous knowledge, wonderful. And I'll give another couple seconds if anyone else wants to chime in.
I think one of the really valuable parts of the CDA curriculum is the practicum experience. And so that day-to-day lived experience of being in an early childhood classroom, and what are you experiencing in your work? What are you observing from teachers in the room, and what are you observing from children?
Yeah, that's wonderful. That chance to kind of observe without the pressure of having to perform is so critical. That's wonderful. I love it. I'll give another couple seconds if anyone else wants to chime in. Don't want to exclude. All right. So in our lesson plan, we have our activities can be used in a wide variety of settings. So we're going to show you some of the, this lesson is called, well, did we do job titles? No, this one is containers. I'm sorry, I wrote the wrong thing on that slide. We're going to be working on containers. But that's a real world job scenario, right? If you're working in hospitality or where you have to know what different containers are. But they could be used as a circle time. They could be used in stations, small group work, or you can kind of bring it out in individual teaching moments. So modeling even the same lesson in different settings is another way that we contextualize. And this one is especially for those who may be thinking about developing a program like this and trying to develop new lesson plans. We can make sure to build those skills, those language skills, by making sure we have reading, listening, and speaking all together. With our adults, we also do writing, and there is some pre-writing you can do with the early childhood. But also we have some math incorporated into this containers lesson, right? So we're going to introduce, this is kind of a big picture of what the lesson is going to be before we dive into it, but it starts with vocabulary. All the lessons start with vocabulary. Then it works into sentences, using those words in sentences, having them generate their own sentences. And we use the CLOSE technique and the language experience approach, which I'll show you. And then they're doing sorting. And then also naming containers. So this is kind of something you can set up, especially, you know, how many preschool rooms have a kitchen area, right? So putting containers of multiple sizes, showing them how they can sort them, then they're naturally going to say, oh, that's something I can do with that object when they see it in their stations rotating around. All right. So let's dive into the beginning of this industry vocabulary. And if you do have the document, the contextualized lesson plans document, when you go down to the table of contents, you can link down, it has all of our lesson plans from this week, but we're going to go down to early childhood education and containers. So of course, working with young children, or working with teaching adults to work with young children, we'd love to have, you know, physical objects as much as possible. We know sometimes with some of the distance, you're just having to show them over the screen or just show pictures. But the more realistic those pictures can be, the better it is for retention, especially when you're first introducing language. So So the first lesson activity in terms of naming containers is a vocabulary where you're lifting up bowl, box, can, jar, right? And so the kids can do some call and response. And we want to make sure, even if you have the same object, for example, I have, you know, nesting bowls here. So, you know, I may mix it up where I say box and then bowl. At this point, I'm not talking about the size of it, but I may be saying bowl multiple times with different bowls. And then you can kind of go to the level 2, right? First is that direct instruction. you're telling them, and then some guided practice where you're getting their feedback. So what is this called? Bowl, right? Blue's Clues style. You have those incredibly long pauses where you say, I can't figure out what this one is called. That's a bowl. They get super excited, right? When they can successfully name something, know how to stick it in their their vocab database part of their brain, right? And then once you've introduced the vocabulary of the different containers, that's when you can then get into the sizes. So having a whole set of just one type of item in different sizes. So these are my nesting bowls that I love, love, love. I don't know if any of you also have like nesting things that are just incredibly satisfying. But you could start with, depending on the age, small, medium, large, or smallest, small, medium, large, largest, up to 5 different sizes. But, and again, small, medium, and large. What size is this one? Small. All right. So, and you can keep playing with that one. This is modified actually from a lesson from a curriculum called Bridging the Employment Gap, which I'll show you. This was actually developed in Canada, so there are some portions of it that are not actually very applicable to our context, or are very applicable but require some translation. So we're going to page 97, and there, by their numbering, which is a little different because they have an intro. All right, so 97, that's 59. Here we are. These are ours. It starts back up here. That's round or oval. Here's our sizes. No, this is round and oval. Here's our sizes. Small, medium, large. So this is a printable for you. If you want to have a printable available for children to be able to sort, right? And what I love here is they have the same exact picture, but in multiple sizes. And that really helps the child isolate the one thing. The size is what's different here. Because like my nesting bowls are all different colors. This would not be an ideal thing to use with young children because they would look at this and say, okay, is what's different about them their color or is what's different about them their size? So ideally, I would have the same color nesting bowls, but I do very much love these nesting bowls. Oh, and the other resource that I kind of skipped over, but is the Oxford Picture Dictionary, which is wonderful for children or adults. And there's bilingual versions for Arabic, Chinese, French, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And what's wonderful is they also have, for at least your English speakers, an ebook available. And there's also digital presentation tools in multiple languages. So, so this is just one resource for you that they used, but you know, you can also, if you want to take the extra time to search for things online, pictures yourself to use, you can. But of course, we start with the concrete as much as possible, and then we work our way to the print only after they've had some more contact here. Because it is kind of a tough gap sometimes to go from that concrete to the semi-concrete kind of abstract on the page. And then finally, and there's a couple other mentions here of a few other activities, variations on the activities you can do from bridging the employment gap. But then we end with our sentences. So close these sentences if, and I imagine some of you already use these, but it's where you have a sentence and then you eliminate every 5th word so that they have to kind of fill in the context. And And this can be used actually as a guided practice or independent practice where they're just practicing the skill. You can also use it for assessment, and it's frequently used for assessment after you've already worked through the sentences, and then at a later time, you give them the same sentences you used earlier, but with the every fifth word missing. And then another opportunity to bring it from individual vocabulary to full sentences is to do the language experience approach and ask students, okay, can you give me a sentence about a bowl? They may say, I put cereal in my bowl. Okay, so you're going to write that on the board. I put cereal in my bowl. And if they have some kind of mistake in, well, they're not going to be spelling it out, but in grammar or word usage, you kind of fix it, or you put what your standard is going to be, and it helps them learn spelling this way. And then you can do some more call and response, just like you did earlier with the vocab. I put cereal in my bowl. Repeat after me. I put cereal in my bowl. We can sing it if we want to. Put cereal in the bowl. All right. And then, and I have here the note, repeat until you are out of vocabulary words or attention. And that's an observational skill that's very important when working with young children, is to notice before you've lost their attention rather than after. And it's incredibly challenging, I have to say, doing distance with adults, because I don't know if you're, I can't observe, but it's all good. So it's a different set of tools. Our differentiation ideas here is some ideas for reviews using games, piecing out pronunciations, and there's also another what they call a demonstration assessment, and this is specifically for in the hospitality setting. So if we skip ahead to page 117 in their listing here, I really enjoy their demonstration assessments. Scroll for me. Thank you. All right, so this is very, very pragmatic. And I can remember working in food service and okay, so you are given, they've taken all the clean cutlery out of the dishwasher and they hand it to you as the hostess or whatever your role is. Maybe you're also a dishwasher, and you've got to sort it into the cutlery organizer. And the organizer may have labels on it. So you want to do labels at least. So you're starting to create those. This is something that actually I was just thinking of this morning, that I can tell that I'm the only one in my family who has worked in food service, because when anyone else in my house puts away cutlery into our drawer, they mix up the spoons and like stick different types of spoons in the same section, and they don't like sort them and stack them nicely. It does drive me just a little bit crazy. So it is, so those kind of not necessarily not so necessary, but just again satisfying ways of sorting cutlery. But also there's so many, especially as you work your way into the higher levels of food service, right? But there's also putting away containers in early childhood education too. And I know some of my friends who work in early childhood education, they like even have specific ways that they label the way you fold things, and the hot dog fold and the this and that fold. So so there's all sorts of ways you can work on trades vocabulary to sort them out. All right, so that is our wonderful sample lesson plan. And this is a section where we're getting into some additional resources for you. So this is a great time if you want to chime in, especially in chat with some resources. I'm going to kind of give you a little tour. So one of our highlighted resources for DC educators is the Hot 50 Jobs in the Washington, D.C. Economic Insight, which is, scroll down, here it is. And actually, I'm going to make this bigger for you because it might be small on some screens. All right, so we're on the page Washington, D.C. Economic Insights and seeing how things are looking from a year out, and things are looking better than a year ago, which is a good thing. All right, here's our Hot 50 Jobs. And I'll look what they do for us. So wonderful. Hot 50 jobs with education below GED, and then they can check out their jobs that they can get once they've gotten that, passed the GED test and gotten that credential, and then everything. That includes at all educational levels. And then they have links here for your American Job Center and unemployment. And another resource available for DC residents is our Teach Scholarship. So maybe you already, hopefully some of you know about this, or even know somebody who's taken advantage of it. But it provides comprehensive scholarships for early childhood center teachers, family providers, and directors to work towards earning an associate or bachelor's degree in early childhood education or a related field. So this is for your folks who have graduated with a high school diploma or GED, or sometimes even your coworkers who may be working in the field.
Are you going to provide a link to that, Megan?
Oh yeah, here it is right here. Teach. Oh, and you know what? Stacy beat us to it. It's right in the chat. Yep, this is a great one. And then I know there's several places in the city, including some of your programs, where they can go for that associate's or bachelor's level. But of course, being hosted by University of District of Columbia, we do have to highlight what they offer. Well, we don't have to, but I thought it would be a good thing. There we go.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, so we're doing It took me, I put in Coach DC's preschool teachers for the graduate certificate, and where did there we go. It's a double link. And there we go. And if you go into the slide itself, there are, or I think this might be in the document. It has links to each program individually because they're in different, each one is at a different level. Your initial certificate is probably what most of you are offering. That's done through the community college career pathway side. And then as you get into the associates and bachelor's level, that's going to be at, what do you call it, the home campus or main, flagship. Thank you. I was like, I know I saw that word, the flagship campus. Thank you. Again, learning vocabulary that is specific to your context. You have to use the right word that other people are using. Awesome. So hopefully, and Career Coach DC is, of course, another wonderful resource for your folks to do, to think about not only, okay, we're preparing you for this one certificate, but here's some other things you can also do in this field, you know, layering up. And if you do want to continue on to the next level. All right, so some of you have seen some of these before, just in case, but I know we have several names that this is your first session for the week. So I'm going to make sure to go through these Aussie resources because they're awesome. And because it's the final webinar. Okay, so in their resources section, you can tell I've started to get really comfortable with y'all when I start singing. So they have links here for all sorts of wonderful standards and your IET information. They have a link to Career Coach DC, and then your essential education products. So I think some of you who are doing IET, where you're doing the early childhood certificate, you could also be working in GED Academy or CASAS Academy, Work Essentials, Money Essentials for their personal finance. Or if they need help on their digital literacy skills, they have Computer Essentials. So you do have to go in if you haven't used these systems before. You do have to request access. You get an administrator or teacher level account, and then you use that to create your student accounts. What's nice about these systems is if you want to have a section of your class where folks are working independently and you don't have to be doing a lot of oversight, that's what these are perfect for. Or if you want to extend their learning time at home and hopefully have already worked through some of those, wonderful digital inclusion opportunities to make sure they have home internet. But you want to give them something where they can, it's going to adapt to their pace and you don't have to sit there and do a lot of assigning. The system, you can assign things if you want to have a lot of control and you want the whole class to be doing the same lesson every day. But this system is designed to adapt to the student's level. The student logs in, they do a quick assessment, and then it starts the student in the level where they need, so that they're skipping the things that they have shown they mastered and they're really just working on the things that they need to improve. So it saves them time, and it's also a great self-directed one. Virtual Job Shadow is also very similar. My feedback that I've been getting so far is there's a mix. A lot of folks are using Virtual Job Shadow to show videos in class or to assign particular lessons, but it can also be a self-paced program where a student goes in, does a career assessment, and then it will kind of walk them through a career pathway. However, if you already are focused on a specific career pathway, you're going to want to just use the assignments, videos, and lessons associated with that. Oh, and Mal loves CASAS Academy. Awesome. Yeah, they've done a great job updating, and it's so aligned to the standards. It was a very boring process to participate in, but very good in the long term to align all the content to all those standards and all those different exams. So North Star Digital Literacy Assessment also is another great tool you have available to you through Aussie. So, and if you look at the locations, that's how to become a location. You won't contact them directly. You're going to contact Aussie to become a location. But if you look on the national map, DC is a hot spot over here, or the DC area of folks. So this is great because not only do you have access to it as a testing center to give this certification, but if so many folks in a region are using this credential, that means employers are hopefully, going to know about it. They've heard of it before, and so that'll help your folks in the job market. We mentioned bridging the employment gap. Another similar hospitality one that has some wonderful hands-on activities is the same folks who made North Star Digital Literacy Assessment made this curriculum. So it's called On the Job, and it is really for beginning level CASAS folks. So this is a great one. And then on YouTube, I know YouTube is really hit or miss, but if you have folks who are going to be doing any sort of food handling, which is again a big part of early childhood education, I know some early childhood providers also have their employees do serve safe training on food handling. So this list of videos here goes through all the different pieces that are going to be a part of any sort of food safety training. And serve safe down here, the link. And if you aren't using any of these OSCE resources already and you're interested in access, Stacy has put the email address that you contact to make sure you can get that. So from the early childhood end, and again, please, if you're using them, let us know. If you have something else that's not on the list, I know some of you mentioned the CDA certificate, which is not what I, oops, that's CD, which is not the one I highlighted, but if it's what you're using, then there we go. Child Development Associate Credential. So is this the, do I have this correct that this is the institute that does your certification? I think this was at Bria you were mentioning.
No, it's called I lost it. It's called the Council of Professional Recognition. There you go.
There we go. Great. All right. So
that's the one. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Look at that. Great. So for those folks, I think like DCHR, we're possibly talking about doing some apprenticeships, or if there's other programs who are looking for a credential, that is what Bria is using. And then NAEYC is National Association for the Education of Young Children. So they do have a lot of great resources that are free, but they also are can do accreditation. And they have, I believe, a journal that has a lot of great resources in it as well. And then ed.gov has a lot of early learning resources that are going to be more free because yay, public domain. And look at this. They have some links for it in Espanol as well, because I know some of you are doing that. So, cómo ayudar a su hijo. And toolkit for Hispanic families. So there's multi-language support at this site. ECTA is another great resource center. They're a National Technical Assistance Center focused specifically on children with disabilities. So they do have, again, resources and events, etc., etc. And then protective factors, and I'm guessing a lot of you are incorporating this work into what you're doing, but protective factors training is another thing that you can provide for as folks are preparing for those early childhood careers to not only be supporting the children, but also their families and doing, teaching them to do some of the parent education and helping parents, if they are connecting socially to other parents within the child care center, that is a great protective factor. Doing concrete supports, when you're doing, when folks mention things in drop off or in parent teacher conferences, what are some community resources you can connect them to, teaching them social and emotional competence, how to pay attention to their own emotions and the emotions of their children, and give them a safe space to express their emotions is immensely protective against a wide variety of suicidal thoughts and all sorts of wonderful things. So, or wonderful to protect against things. And then, of course, DC Works. So this is when they're ready. You can use Career Coach DC. You can build a resume. You can also apply to jobs through there. But this is also kind of a one-stop website for unemployment and jobs in the DC area. All right, whoo! We have gotten through the roller coaster, but this is a great time for you to share your links as well. And if there is something here, we have tried to put a lot of things in chat, especially the things that were not initially in the presentation. But also, if you go to the table of contents in this contextualized lesson plan doc, here's a section. It ends with all web links by industry. So let's say, next week you're like, oh, there was that bridging the gap thing that Megan was talking about. I don't want to go through the whole lesson plan. I just want that one link. Well, you can go down here to early childhood education and find just that one link. And, oh, I wanted that Teach DC scholarship, right? Somebody was definitely asking about that. Here's your link right here at the end of the document. Please share all of these things widely. So this is a great chance if you do have additional questions, or if you have any resources that I didn't mention that you would like to share with your colleagues, this is a great time to do so. And our goal today, of course, is that each one of you come away with something that you want to follow up with that will give you some additional tools in your toolbox. So we're thinking. I need my handy dandy Blue Clues thinking chair. All right, Teresa says, I have a student with her own child care center. Are there any resources for her as an owner? Absolutely. Now I know exactly what this is in the state of Ohio because I've had several students in the exact same situation. But I'm going to look up, I think, what this, and if somebody else wants to chime in. So certification, home child care center, and we're going to put in Washington, D.C. instead of Ohio. Oopsie. Okay. Hey, look. OSSI is your resource once again. So here's your licensing process for child care providers. That's one link, and I'm going to toss in there for you. And there's some licensing and compliance and facility requirements. And I think the biggest one here, this is the overarching department you want to send them to, is the Child Care Services Department in the Department of Human Services in DC government. So there you go. This is kind of the umbrella, and then all the resources are going to be down here. They kind of oversee those centers. Yes, yeah, the Teach DC would definitely be for somebody working at a child care center. You're exactly right. So that Teach DC scholarship is one avenue. I see what you mean, and then possibly other other scholarships. I think again, getting back to our Career Coach DC might be another good place to find resources.
And Teresa, if you'll put your email address in the chat, we can follow up with you and connect you to some of the OSSI resources that might apply to this individual. So if you'll put your first name, last name, and your email address, that would be great. Oh, you're showing up as Teresa, but it's an Academy of Hope person. Sure, we can do some research with you, and also Elizabeth Bowman is also mentioned DC Tag. Aha, it's a beautiful name. So yes, so we will look into that, and our BRIA colleagues probably do also know about a number of things as well.
Yes, and Elizabeth Bowman put in there the tuition assistance program. So there's several of these for childcare tuition assistance that I'm going to stick in there.
Yeah, and a new scholarship that has even greater flexibility, I believe, and Michelle can mention that, or we can send you some information about it.
And that's an Aussie specific one, the tuition assistance program?
Yes, tuition assistance
Awesome.
grant comes through Aussie. Mayor Scholars as well as another option.
Great.
So we'll make sure that you have all of those.
And also the DC Future Scholarship.
Yep.
That's the new one that will launch sometime in late 21, early sometime in 22.
Awesome. This is a great conversation. So Aussie is your resource for all of those. That's wonderful. Great. Any other questions or resources that we want to share before we wrap up for the day and the week? Well, it's the final webinar. Do. We really appreciate you taking the time.
This is the last one.
Yeah, this is the last one for the week. We're at number 7.
Oh wow! Well, I've appreciated them. I've jumped in and out. I'm kind of moving around, so that's why sometimes I may ask a question that could have been addressed. But I really have appreciated them and enjoyed them. It's been very informative, and I just want to make sure that I'm able to. It's a lot. I'm like taking these links and I'm trying to go stick them somewhere, and then I'm coming back. So I just want to clarify, will I be able to access the recording itself? That's on the blog seat site because I haven't gone.
So that is not there.
Okay.
Where that's going to be is on the Aussie website. And I'm gonna see. This is like a test for me to see if I can find the right links. Okay. So
a lot of times I'm trying to save them, and I'm missing what's happening here.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
Adult
so there's topics adult ed, and this particular department is adult and family education. So within that, we have adult education instructors, and under the resources for adult education instructors, there's a section on professional development. So I'm going to put the direct link here in chat, but this is the place where...
Okay, so it was topics, adult ed, then it was
adult and family education.
Family ed. Okay, and then what came after that?
And then you choose... And then on that page, it asks for, are you an adult learner, an instructor, or provider? So you're going to say an instructor.
Adult education instructor.
And they have their, another scholarship is the AFE Professional Development Scholarship, by the way.
Yeah, that's the one for us. Yeah, yes. I remember that. I got that one saved. It's still up here. My tab is open.
Wonderful.
From a couple days ago.
Yes. And then below that, they have a link for professional development. And that is where they will post when these recordings are ready. And they also have the recordings from the previous mini professional development institutes.
Okay. So those will be posted later, like they're not up there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're still processing.
Right, so you have access, everyone, to all of the PowerPoints and all of the web links, the lesson plan template, everything you have access to right now at blog.mustsee.org, and we'll put that in again. And then in about a week and a half time, then when we process all of the videos, we'll combine the videos with all of the handouts, and those will be posted on the OSSI Adult and Family Education Professional Development website that Megan just showed you. And all of the past mini professional development sessions and institutes that we've, OSSI Adult and Family Education has put on with the University of the District of Columbia, those are all there.
And then the other thing we want to let you know is that once those video recordings and the material are uploaded on the website, we will send out a email notification to all of you and through our PD listserv, so that individuals can know how to follow the breadcrumbs to these resources. So trust and believe, we'll get something out to you. You won't have to guess when it's on the site. Look out for the email. You'll get an email letting you know that it's there.
Yeah, and we are starting the conversation about how to continue to provide some of the support to continue the wonderful networking and resource sharing, but also think through a little bit more, how do we actually implement it, and sharing some actual lesson plans between providers. So look out for that when we've solidified some of those ideas. But we hope to continue this conversation moving forward.
Yes, we are. So again, thank you all for joining us for our final Mini PD Institute session on early childhood education. We plan to work with Megan in FY22, as she stated, to really flesh out some additional PD focused on helping you to enhance learning for youth, young adults, and adult learners, as well as really refining the work that we're doing around preparing individuals for college and careers. I want to thank you, Megan, from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank you for taking the time out to be with us this week. And I'd like to thank my team, Stacy Downey, Nakia Lynch, Tracy Richards, Cynthia Brown. Stacy has put a lot of time, managing this work, and the AFE team also, and Dr. Heather Bruce for being the glue that helps to hold all these pieces together. For all of you, anytime you need anything, if we can be of a resource to you, feel free to send us an email, call any one of us on the AFE team on your phone or via MS Teams, and we will provide you with support and or resources. God bless you all, and have a wonderful remainder your Thursday, and happy Friday, happy Friday to all of you. Dr. Bruce, did you want to say anything in closing? Dr. Bruce, I think there might be something going on with your mic, your headset.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thanks to everyone. I'm having some challenges here, but it's all good. And I think it was a wonderful institute again, every session. So I hope you take away something from each session that will help you to continue the awesome work that you do. Take care, and thanks again, Megan. We look forward to working with you for the next phase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all.